How much memory do you have on this?
Probably a decent amount. I don't know. I haven't gone through it in a while.
Wobbly, wobbly,
Wobble.
I feel like this isn't centered.
Yeah, me neither.
What are you talking
Like
about?
more over to
Like,
the right.
Yeah.
So this needs to be over
There,
like
yeah.
yeah. Thanks, baby.
Yeah.
We don't even know what we're doing.
I don't even know. All right, I guess we'll just start talking.
All right, sounds good.
All right, guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I have Michelle here. You've probably seen her on my IG and other things. And we're gonna talk today about competing because I've gotten a lot of questions about competing and like when you should compete, if you should compete, and it's like the competition season is starting again because a lot of competitions like slowed down. It's starting again, so a lot of people are asking me questions about competing, so I thought I made a video. And this is gonna be part one of, I don't know how many parts, but at least two. And this is gonna be more about things people don't tell you about competing or the things that aren't easily known. Let's get to it.
Let's start.
First, let me just give like a product placement. I don't think this is obvious enough, but
Not quite.
if you didn't know,
Just
you should go to IFYM Apparel. It's right here on the screen, right here, and use the code Mish, and you should buy some of this. You just should. All right.
code Senor.
Literally, everyone's like, "Why is
Senor
Senor?"
gets you 15% off.
They'll be like, "Why you call her Senor too?
Senor.
Is it because she's a senior?"
Should I do
I was
the
like,
whole
no.
thing? Senor Sugains? No.
No, just
Senor
Senor.
gets you 15% off.
Senor.
People are
As of
so confused. I guess I'll just start and say competing is not easy. And I would like to give a disclaimer that this is not to discourage you from competing, but it's just to tell you like the facts that you should think about before going into competing, and that competing isn't the next step in your fitness journey. Like, you don't have to compete to be fitness. You don't have to compete to, I don't know, you don't have to compete. It's not the next step. And people, I'm not better, she's not better than you because we compete. And
Yeah, it's not something to validate what you do for fitness. So
Yeah.
you don't need to do it in order
to be
feel good about what you're doing, about lifting. Like, that's not a necessary.
like Katie Hearn, she doesn't compete and she's still legit. So she's
First thing, competing will not fix your problems. I can say from a personal experience that this is very true. I already had disordered eating before I started competing. When I first started competing for bikini, and I basically thought, you know, now that I have control of what I'm eating, now that I know how to track my macros, and it was even more structured because I literally could not stray from these macros, because when you're competing, you don't have as much of a leeway as you would in everyday life when you're tracking, where you get to be a little bit more intuitive. When you're competing, you really have to stick to a regimented plan. So I was like, my disorder was bulimia, but I liked that I had control over restricting myself and purging also. So I was like, oh well, I can now have a little bit more control with that too. And I thought that I would be able to fix it. He's like, oh, now I don't have to purge it. Now I know exactly how much I'm gonna eat, and it's gonna be fine. But that did not fix my problems. It only exacerbated the problem. So when I came out of my bikini prep for my first time, I opened up about my eating disorder to my coach, and then I got help. And that's the only way you can go about getting help for your disorder. You can't think like, oh, now that I'm competing and I have this other goal that I'm striving towards, that everything's gonna fix itself. Like, not true.
And like, it's very like competing, when you are competing and when you lose control, like, it's very hard to get back on track because you have to be so strict. So like, if you mess up, if I mess up in everyday life, like, I move on. But like, if you're competing and you know that like that's going to determine how you look on stage, then you go to extremes and you can have like a very unhealthy relationship with food, which I've talked about on previous YouTube videos, that like, I knew going into competing that I had to be self-aware of my problems to like be able to notice when those were happening, to make sure that I wasn't like having disordered eating patterns, like during prep. Like during prep, you are eating far less than you need to fuel your body, and it is okay because it's short term and it's for a specific goal. So like to go into competing and thinking like it'll fix my problems, or like once I get lean enough I'll be okay, I cannot stress enough that is not the case. Because if you don't love yourself and love how you look at a certain point in your life, just because you're smaller, you're not going to love yourself more. So that's one thing that a lot of people aren't cognitive of. They just think once I start competing, then everything will be okay. And once I'm lean enough, and once I have the shots on Instagram of me in my competition bikini, like it's all gonna be okay. But it's not gonna fix your problems.
Very much true. Yeah. Like body image, even though you get leaner, it tends to go down the drain because your hormones don't necessarily stay up to par when you start.
How much memory do you have on this?
Probably a decent amount. Probably a decent amount. Probably a decent amount. These ran out of footage even though I thought I had enough. Probably a decent amount. Ran out of footage. Ran out of space. So we don't know where it cut off, so we just gonna jump back in. Michelle was talking at one point, I think I got it, about like hormones, and that's another thing on this list. Competing, she was saying about hormones, but there's hormones, your digestion, your metabolism, and if you're a female, which that's what we're talking about, so your period and your cycle can be affected, and those can all affect your body as well. And I didn't know that really going into it. So for me, my digestion slowed way down. It was like TMI, but I would sit on the toilet for like an hour every morning. Like, just saying. Like, just telling you real life. Like, that's something you need to know about competing. Like, your digestion system slows way down. You're eating less food and you're giving your body less energy to work its insides, and your digestion slows down. It's hard to go to the bathroom. You don't always go to the bathroom, and your stomach can be in pain even if you're eating all healthy foods. Healthy foods. Healthy foods. Good food. Another thing is your hormones downregulate a lot as well. So another maybe TMI is that you have no sex drive whatsoever. Libido is
part of it, yeah.
Your hormones are all out of whack, so it's like you're constantly on your period without getting your period.
Yeah, irritable, like small things get to you because you're moody, since you're like, your testosterone dips and your estrogen increases, so you'll have breakouts. That's a hormonal thing. And then you can lose your period, which most people do, and that's not necessarily because you're eating less, but because, well, it is due to eating less, but it's not because you're not eating enough to make your body go into that state. It's because you're not fueling your body enough in comparison to how much you're working. So when your body doesn't have enough fuel to do what it needs to do, it loses its period because it knows it can't support a baby. So
yeah, so that's why you do lose your period, is because your body is smart and it knows that you can no longer support a baby or like having a child, and so it's like, I'm not gonna do that anymore, because the point of a period is for procreating.
Yes, reproduction.
Reproduction, that's
which is
another
reason probably why you lose your sex drive too.
Yeah, probably. I mean, just being honest, telling you stuff about competing that people don't tell you, that I had to find out the hard way, that I only found out after I talked to people when I was in the depths of prep, and I reached out to people and was like, hey, is this normal? Along with that is your metabolism slows down a ton. So when you're eating so little food, then just like everything slows down, including like your energy is in the bottom of the bottom, very close to your show, and like it's hard to do everyday tasks. And I talked about this on my Instagram post about carbs, but your brain needs 130 to 150 grams of glucose for normal brain function, and you get glucose from carbs. So if you're doing low carb, going into a show, which you probably are, then your energy levels are affected and your brain function is affected. So I was dumb going into my show. Like, I felt dumb. I was always fuzzy and foggy. I didn't really have, like, I couldn't have a conversation with someone. Like, I couldn't have an intelligent conversation. I would just kind of be like, yeah, like when people saw me at the gym, they'd be like, how's prep going? I'll be like, oh, it's good. Because I couldn't have a conversation with them about how things were going. Now, not everyone's energy bottoms out. I know people go into show with more carbs, but it is something that can happen, and especially if you're going super low carb or super low calorie into a show.
Right. So that's something that's important too before you start a prep, is knowing where your intake is at. So if you've already been dieting for a long time, and which is in my case, I went into my prep already at a low calorie, and then I had to diet for another 13 weeks lower than that. Like, I mean, you can't add in food as you're trying to cut weight, really. Like, the refeeds, yes, but on the regular basis, no. Once a week, yes, and that's it. But that's not enough to really keep you, you're not storing all of that as glycogen. You're ending up using it because you're already in such a deficit. So your calories keep taking a hit, and that's not smart. So if you really want to compete, just know that stage is always going to be there. And if you know that's going to be your end goal, then be smart about it. And if you know that you need to take time to increase your intake before starting a diet, then do that. Like, don't rush into a prep just because everyone else is doing it and you want to get to that point. Like, be trusting in the process and be patient. Like, patience is the hardest thing to practice, but it's so important, especially when it comes to bodybuilding, because
your body and your health in general.
Yeah.
And if you rush into a show when you're not ready, then it could screw up how often you compete in the future. So I wouldn't say I necessarily rushed into my show, but I wish I would have built up my calories more, because I was already starting at about maybe 1,600 calories I had to cut from there, and it was really hard. So working on your body and health in general is so much more important than rushing to get on stage, because you don't want a miserable prep, because you'll be burnt out, you'll hate it, you won't want to, and you can rebound after really bad, and you don't want to screw up your body and all the systems in it. Like, you want to be healthy as you can. And like right now, like my calories were just at 2,800. That means the next time I prep for a show, they're gonna get higher than that. The next time I prep for a show, I'll be able to start from that 1,000 calories above what I started from before, which means I can have more food going into my show, I'll have more muscle, and I'll be more mentally sound, because I haven't been dieting for 10 months. Like, I will only diet for about 20 weeks instead of dieting for 40 weeks. So it's important to know what your body's at, what you can handle, and along with that, what else is going on in your life. So stress really affects how you do during your prep. So if you're super stressed all the time, like I got stressed about my weight wasn't low enough, but I also had other stressors going on. Like, I'm a full-time student. I was taking 21 hours. I had other stuff going on. I had a job at the beginning of prep. Like, it was very hard, and the more stress you hold on to, the more weight you hold on to, and the more that your body fights you, and so it's harder to lose weight, and then you get more stressed, and you have other things going on, so you're worried about school, and then you're worried about your job, and you're worried about prep. So being like conscious of what else is going on in your life, and if you will physically and mentally be able to handle prepping on top of that. So I know right now people have been asking me if I'm prepping soon. I'm not ready to, because I have a lot of things coming up. I have 2 months left of school. I have to move to a different state. I have to find an apartment. I have to find a job. Like, that is very stressful, and I know if I try to diet during all of that, I will be miserable and my prep will not go well. And the whole point of prepping and being on stage is like, you love the process. Like, it's not about stage, because it's such a small part of what you've done. Like, you're getting on stage and you're being judged by judges. That's very true, but it shouldn't be about your placing. It should be about like the journey there and how hard you worked and like what you as a person could accomplish.
You're gonna be on stage for a total of like 5 minutes, including the awards ceremony. So literally, like, you can't only stress about a few minutes of your life.
What's up, guys? That'll be the end of part 1. I know that kind of cut off, but we did not realize how long we had talked. We had talked for like over 30 minutes, and I do not want to post a 30-minute video. So this is part 1. Part 2 will be up later this week. And if you have any questions, comments, or anything, leave them below. I should be back in Columbus in like 2 weeks. So if it's something that me and Michelle can record while we're together, I'd love to do that, because I know she has a completely different experience than me, and she's competed in not only bikini, but she's competed in physique. And Katie Ann was there, and she's competed in figure, so we were gonna have her talk. So in 2 weeks, I'll probably have her talk, and we'll talk about bikini, figure, physique, what's different with them, and all of that jazz. So thank you guys so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff, whatever you want to do. And go check my Instagram, because I made a post about all the My Protein deals that are going on this week.